everybody, Brooke Sanders here with Johnstown's Finest, and as promised, we are here at Marion's studio at Simple Pleasures Pottery, and I am super excited because it's long awaited and we are doing our part 2. So what are we doing today, Marion?
Well, I think when we left off last time, I had thrown a pot and it was in its very wet form, just right off the wheel. So these pots that I have here were thrown yesterday, and sometimes you can trim the next day and sometimes you can't. A lot of times it has to do with the temperature. In the summer when it's very humid and I run a dehumidifier, it might take 2 days to trim. But in the winter when the heat is on and they dry more quickly, it might be just overnight. So this piece was thrown yesterday. He's going to be a vase, but when I touch him down here at the bottom, he's still very damp. And for me to cut him off the wheel and trim the bottom, I would probably distort him. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to just set him off to the side. And take a piece that has been sitting around. He's nice and dry, and by nice and dry I can touch him without any distortion. He's what they call leather hard. So I'll put him back on the wheel. I'll take a wire cutter and very carefully cut him off. The wire just rides right underneath the bottom of the pot. But if you look at the bottom, it's not very finished. So we turn them upside down. So the clay that I'm putting on this piece will hold him in place. You have all kinds of tools. This is one of my favorite trim tools. And I'll come around the side and I'll trim off that excess so it's a nice straight line for my piece of pottery. I make a little slanted line there. What that helps with, if I'm glazing this piece, I can glaze right to here. I'll wax the rest of it, but that gives me a line of like finish. Now on the bottom, I like to put a little foot on my pieces. It just seems to have a better finished look. So I come in the center. You have to be careful. You don't want to dig down too deep. You can always take more off, but you can't put it back if you cut it out too much. So very careful, sometimes 4, 5, 6 different times. Okay, now I'm going to set him off to the side for now.
Okay.
And I'm going to take another piece that I threw last night, and he's dry enough. I can touch him. And I take my clay that's left over. I recycle as much as I can.
Okay. How interesting.
Well, like everything else, it's getting more and more expensive.
Indeed. Indeed.
I take my trim tool. This tells me whether my bottom is very thick or very thin. This sounds like it's a little bit thin, so I'm not going to do too much to the bottom, but I am going to trim off the sides. I'm kind of anal about things. I like things to be the way they're supposed to be. So if it's supposed to be trimmed nice and neat, I want it to be nice and neat. There are potters that don't trim their pots very much. And everyone's a little bit different, and they have the right to do whatever they want to do. But I like mine to be want to say feminine, but maybe a little bit feminine because that's exactly what I am. So I'm going to give it a little foot.
Okay.
Again, just taking off just a little bit. And then on this, I'm just going to shape it down just a little bit. I'm going to change this one up a little bit because I think I'm just going to do flowers on this. When I throw a basket, and that's what this is, or I throw a little cat, I have an idea of what I'm going to do and how I'm going to decorate it. And I think that's important, that you don't throw willy-nilly. You throw with a purpose in mind. If I'm doing cups or mugs, I do that differently. I sit down with a piece of clay. If I want to do 6 mugs, I'll have 6 pieces of clay, and they're all weighed out, and they're all the same weight. And I'll sit in an afternoon, and I'll throw all of them at the same time. And then I come back, and I'll do a handle for all of them. But the way you get consistency is by doing them together. Because the next day, even though they'll be very similar, they might be a hair off.
I see. How interesting.
Okay. Now I said this was going to be a basket. What I'm going to do, I keep him on the bat, and I will take a hole punch, a large hole punch. I'll put holes in for the handle. You can get bamboo handles on the internet. During the pandemic, we were having a hard time getting them, but now they seem to be coming back, and that's what I like to use. Clay handles are very fragile, so I make sure we're about the same place. Make my little hole. I would like it to be just a little bit wider. Okay, our holes are there.
Okay.
Now, I live in the woods and I'm very partial to leaves and flowers and things like that. So when I do something, I'm going to turn this off so I don't accidentally decorate. And I'm going to use a pencil and I'm going to draw just whatever design I think I want to put on this. I think on this one, I might put some leaves. So I'm going to hold it. And I usually start here around, if my bifocal's on, around the handle. So it looks like the leaves are coming out, and I'll draw very faintly in case I change my mind.
I see.
And I would do this the whole way around to the other side. And then I have a little tool. It's more of a sgraffito tool. And I'll come in.
Oh, I see.
And I will make a deep line. So when I glaze, which we'll maybe show you next time, you'll have some place to either put the wax or the underglaze. Since they're leaves, they have like a little bit of a line in them. Takes a little bit of time, but the pots are very recognizable. I've had people say to me, oh, I saw one of your pots, it had the leaf design. And they know just by looking at it that it's one of mine.
Neat. It's kind of your signature, I guess, huh?
I would say.
How
Okay.
pretty.
Now, where's my other pot? Let's see. For another design, this one is the kind of shape that I make a lot. I sell an awful lot of them. People seem to like them either with cats, with butterflies, or with gnomes. So again, the same thing. I'm going to do a cat on here. And I'll take my pencil. I'll draw his ears. Change the eyebrows, you change the whole demeanor of the cat.
Yes.
So sometimes they're friendlier and sometimes they're inquisitive, and this one's going to be like, how dare you? After he dries and they're fired for the first time, he will look like this.
Oh,
this is
okay.
a piece of bisque fired clay that's going to need to be decorated and glazed.
Okay.
So
that's what we do next time?
this is what we'll do next time.
Okay.
The only other step that we have between here and there outside of firing, sometimes when you touch a piece of clay, it's a little bit rough. So for me, I don't like that.
This is the vase that we did the last time. Okay, nice.
So here, just because I want everything to be nice and smooth,
Yes.
I take a little scrubber and I just go over it lightly, just to make sure that there are no rough pieces or patches, because they're going to be decorated. The flowers are going to be decorated with an underglaze, and I want them to be pretty. And when someone goes to say, oh, how pretty they are, I don't want there to be any rough pieces on them. So this is my final step before I fire. And once I have a kiln full of these pieces that I've sanded and made sure they're okay, make sure there's no cracks on the bottom, make sure my name is on the bottom, then we fire the kiln.
I see. Okay. Oh, I'm so excited. Well, I just thank you so much for allowing us to come into your home again.
Well, thank you very much for your interest. It's been a passion of mine for over 40 years.
Okay, folks, so stay tuned for part 3. And I'm super excited. We're going to try to do that in the next month or so. And until I see you again next time, Johnstown, stay friendly. Bye-bye.